Hey, so if you operate a pool service company and you're looking for more ways to get more leads in the door, book more recurring clients, get more jobs coming through, then today what I'm going to do is I'm going to walk you through the lead generation system that we've been running for this particular pool service client. And we're going to go over how they actually, in the past 120 days, have generated 575 leads. I know right here it only says 268, but that's just one part of what we're doing for this particular client. And if you want to learn more, you can keep watching to see what we're doing for this particular client. So you can maybe pull some things for yourself, or if you are looking to implement a system like this, you can reach out. There's a link in the description below for a free consultation, and we could potentially set some of this stuff for yourself. But with all that said, if you're new here, my name is Chris. I cover all things Google Ads and local lead generation. And today, like I said, we're going to be talking about pool services. So if you want to see more stuff like that, make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment if there's anything else you want to see. So with all that said, let's just jump right in and I'll walk you through what we're doing for this particular client. So before we actually start with the campaigns and the numbers and all that kind of stuff, I wanted to do a very fancy presentation and just kind of walk you through at a high level how we've been able to generate those leads. And it really comes down to three main parts. Number one, you have a Google Ads search campaign. So that's just your kind of standard Google Ads search campaign, shows up in Google search, people click on the ad, go to a landing page and call you. And then on top of that, I've been layering these in on pretty much all of my client campaigns. We have a remarketing campaign on top of that search campaign. And that remarketing campaign is targeting people that have visited their landing page from the search campaign, but we're also hitting organic traffic that is finding them either through their website or their Google business listing and all that kind of stuff as well. So we're layering those two things together within Google Ads. And then we're also running local service ads on top of that. So all of these three things together have combined for a ton of leads every single month for this particular company. And I'm going to go through kind of what those costs look like, what the cost per lead is looking like, all that kind of stuff, and give you some rough outlines that you might be able to follow. So the lead numbers themselves, this is over the last 120 days. From about February 12th to June 11th, the Google Ads campaigns have gotten 270 leads at about a total of $76.44 per lead. Now, keep in mind, this particular company is located in Phoenix. So big market, a bunch of pools, a bunch of competition. So the cost per lead is probably going to be higher in this market compared to maybe your market. Every market's going to be a little bit different when it comes to cost per lead. So that's one thing you want to keep in mind, is that depending on the competition, depending on how many other people in your market, how expensive the cost per click is, all this kind of stuff will impact how expensive a lead is in your particular market. So this particular market, we're in Phoenix, so we're already kind of dealing with a lot of competition. So that said, Google Ads campaigns hitting about 270 leads over that time span. This is one thing that's really cool is the local service ads have gotten 305 leads at about $38.37 per lead. And I'll go into the types of leads. This one is actually running phone call and message leads. And if you only want phone call, you can do local service ads and only get phone calls. That's totally an option as well. But I'll show you those numbers on the local service ads in a little bit. But both of these campaigns, like I said, have combined for 575 leads over the past 120 days. All of that said, let's just kind of jump into the Google Ads campaigns first, and I'll show you what that looks like and kind of how we're running things there. And then I'll jump into the local service ads and show you the numbers there as well. All right, so we're back over in the Google Ads campaigns, and you can see two campaigns right here. This one right here is actually the search campaign. So this is kind of like the foundation of what I would run for a particular client, is just a search campaign. So this has keywords and ads and it's showing up in Google search. This particular campaign, we spent about $18.5 on it over the past 120 days, 941 clicks. Cost per click's a little bit steep in this market. Like I said, we are in Phoenix, so there's a lot of competition. Had 187 leads come from this particular campaign. Conversion rate sitting just below 20%. I want to see this above 20%, but this is a campaign that we are actively optimizing, continuing to do work on. And hopefully I can get this conversion rate closer to like 25% moving forward. That would be ideal. Sometimes there's other factors that play into that, but right now sitting right at about 20%, and the cost per conversion is essentially $100 per conversion. But again, I want to continue to work that lower. And the remarketing campaign, you can see this one right here. This is, and if you're unfamiliar with remarketing, really quick, remarketing campaigns are essentially the same kind of campaigns where if you are looking at a product online and then you leave the website and that product is everywhere, it's on banner ads, it's all over the place, that is a remarketing campaign. And essentially what I've been doing for a lot of my clients is I will set these up to essentially act as digital follow-up in a way. So if somebody doesn't convert we're going to follow up with them with remarketing ads. And these have been super, super helpful in bringing down the overall cost per lead. And so for your pool company, I highly recommend it. Even if you aren't specifically running a search campaign already, you can run these remarketing ads to retarget organic traffic and then just follow up with those people with a fairly cheap campaign. Honestly, this one's only running $25 a day, whereas the main search campaign is running $225 a day. And this was higher, but we've kind of dropped the overall budget to try to calm the chaos a little bit recently. But so yeah, the remarketing campaign, 668 clicks, 83 leads from this, and then $25 per lead from that remarketing campaign. You can see the difference between the remarketing campaign and the main pool service campaign. What I've found with remarketing campaigns for local businesses is they tend to get conversions like at a third of the cost of the main search campaign. It doesn't work that perfectly in every situation. I have found some rare markets where remarketing campaigns just don't want to work. But for the most part, I've seen remarketing campaigns get much cheaper cost per conversion. Main reason being is you can see the cost per click difference is pretty big. This one is getting clicks for about $3. And then we're sending that traffic to the same landing page that we're using on the main search campaign, converting them about 12%, and then getting those leads at $25. So the combined cost per lead on this particular account is about $76. Again, I want to continue to lower that, but that's part of the whole process of optimization, of really getting these campaigns working well. And one other thing I wanted to talk about really quick before going forward is I keep saying leads and all that kind of stuff. And I know it's easy to hide behind, a number and just kind of say, hey, we got 184 leads when it's just somebody clicking on a button. I wanted to actually show you the conversion actions so you know it's not just somebody clicking on a button. So if I just kind of look at the summary here, so I've got 3 different primary conversion actions here. We have form submission. So that's somebody, obviously they hit the page, they fill out like a quote request form or something like that. And, it's name, phone number, email, pool service they need help with, zip code, all that kind of stuff. And so those are just straight form submissions. And then the other 2 things, well, I guess this is the other 3 things technically. The other 2 things we track are phone calls from the landing page and then phone calls from the phone number on the ad. So you can see a majority of our leads here are coming straight from inbound phone calls. 129, well, I guess technically, so this phone call conversion action right here is the same. I just kind of switched up how we're tracking it. So essentially 131 calls from the phone number on the landing page, and then 69 phone calls from the phone on the ad itself. So the conversions, so when I say leads and conversions and stuff like that, they are legit leads. They're inbound phone calls, people searching directly for their service. Same thing with the form fill, is people searching for their service. And when I say leads and conversions, I'm not just talking about a name and an email or something like that, or somebody clicking on a button. So wanted to clear that up before going forward. Now, I'm not going to go through like step by step on how to set all this up because we'd be here for friggin' like 4 or 5 hours going over all that. But there's a few things I can talk about with these particular campaigns just to give you a high level overview of how we're doing things. So number 1, with the main search campaign, what we can do actually is I can just hop into the settings really quick and run you through this stuff. For the main search campaigns, what we're doing is we're running, like I said, Google Search Network only. I don't run search partners. I don't run display network. I keep it strictly to Google Search Network. That's going to give you the highest quality traffic, get you the highest quality leads. My location targeting, I set it up very, very specifically. Go by zip code, exclusions. I go, not all by zip code, but I exclude every other state, everything like that. And you want to make sure you're only hitting people in or regularly in your targeted locations. So the settings on this are, fairly standard, but I think the biggest thing to keep in mind here is that I'm not using search partners and I'm not using display. And one thing, currently I'm running manual CPC, but moving forward, we're probably going to test more conversion-based bid strategies. In some cases, I keep it on like a manual clicks-based bid strategy, but for this particular instance, right now we're on manual. We might switch that over going forward. But like I said, the biggest thing is these search networks. And then if we go into the ad groups themselves, you can see we have a lot of different ad groups. So you want to split all of your services out into different ad groups. Each one of these ad groups need to have specific keywords to those services. You need to take different geographic keywords, for example, Phoenix, Gilbert, Scottsdale, all that kind of stuff, and then put those keywords into specific ad groups. And you want to make sure your campaign looks like this if you're going to be running Google Ads for your pool service company. Because if you're not, you're taking all your keywords, throwing them into one ad group, you're going to probably just not have a good time. The conversion rate's not going to be that great. and click-through rate's not going to be all that great and all that kind of stuff. And another thing we can look at really quick is the devices. So this one is primarily running on mobile. So a lot of your traffic on any campaign is going to come from mobile devices, really. And you want to kind of keep an eye on this. You can see computers, cost per conversion on computers just not as good. So we're kind of downbidding that a little bit. So one thing to really keep in mind is keep an eye on your devices. Another thing that was really helpful is keep an eye on your ad schedule as well. This is a market by market thing. So kind of take it with a grain of salt. But if we look at when ads showed, and we look at the day here, Mondays were garbage. Unfortunately, it's not going to pull up here. Let me just kind of go all time. Mondays, you can see right here, were garbage. So we're in pool services, obviously. Weekends are going to do the best. You can see Saturday has historically been the best for this particular campaign. I would love to open it up to Sunday, but I think right now they're a little bit swamped. But Mondays were complete garbage. So I was like, trim it. So if you're going to run Google Ads for your pool service company, just make sure you're keeping an eye on all these numbers, because one of the biggest things with Google Ads is you can't just set it and forget it. There is an optimization process to all this, which is why when I was talking about the numbers and I want them to be lower and all that kind of stuff, that is part of the process. Optimizing all that stuff, getting rid of keywords that don't work, creating new ads and testing new landing pages and all that kind of stuff. There is a process to this. And one other really important thing to keep in mind when it comes to Google Ads campaigns is you want to be sending the traffic from both of these campaigns to landing pages. If you're not sending that traffic to landing pages, your conversion rate is probably going to be lower than you want it to be. When that conversion rate gets too low, your cost per conversion gets way too high, and you're just not getting as many leads as you would like. So you want to send that traffic to landing pages. Unfortunately, I can't show you this client's landing pages because it's kind of his sort of like competitive advantage in a way. But the landing pages, the places you send the traffic after somebody clicks on the ad, is super, super important. So make sure you're sending that traffic to landing pages. So that pretty much covers the Google Ads side of things. Like I said, I didn't want to go super in depth with all this because I could sit here and make a 30-minute, hour-long video talking about it. But what I want to do is I want to hop over to the local service ads account so I can show you kind of what that looks like as well and some of the numbers we're seeing there. All right, so we're over on the kind of reporting dashboard of the local service ads account. And this one has spent about $11,000 over the past 120 days. We've had 305 charged leads through this particular campaign. And one thing you're going to notice here is we actually have phone leads and message leads enabled. Now, message leads, there's something you don't have to do with local service ads. You can opt to turn these off completely and only get phone call leads. That's totally up to you. But if you have the additional capacity, if you have somebody that's dedicated to quickly following up with leads, these essentially just come through as messages, similar to a form fill. Somebody will send you a message saying, hey, I need a quote on a pool cleaning, or I'm looking for somebody to do weekly service on my pool, something like that. You're gonna need somebody that can actively follow up with those. If you don't have somebody that has the time or the capacity to quickly and efficiently get to those message leads, you can just turn that option off entirely and only get phone call leads. The thing to keep in mind though, and you can see even just looking at the spend between both of them, you can see right off the bat, message leads are significantly cheaper than phone call leads. The phone call leads are coming in probably $50 and under, which is still better than the main Google Ads campaign. So you can still get pretty solidly priced phone call leads from local service ads. But to bring it down even further, you can add in message leads as well. But if you just want phone call leads, you can do that as well. But this has been a super helpful additional kind of element to have on top of the Google Ads campaign. Like we would have been solid with the Google Ads campaign alone, but adding local service ads in has essentially doubled our lead volume. And it's not going to be that way in every single market. And I wouldn't really like base your entire business around local service ads, because this is a platform that you kind of don't have a massive amount of control over. Like you can kind of tell Google what you want, but Google can kind of decide one day to not send you leads anymore. And there's not a lot of control over it. Whereas Google Ads, you have a lot more control. You can kind of dial things up and dial things down. Local service ads are a great either like foundational or supplemental thing that you can add on. And the great thing about this platform is it's actually pay per lead. So you can see right here, it says charged leads. These leads, you don't pay per click like in Google Ads, you pay per lead, and you can dispute leads and all that kind of stuff. I'm not going to show you all like the lead information because it's all people's like contact details and stuff like that. And I'd have to blur out a bunch of crap, but local service ads have been great. This is another thing to really think about. If you are a pool service company, even if you're not going to run Google Ads specifically, local service ads might be a solid starting point. But like I said, it's not just this simple black and white thing. There are certain things to consider when it comes to things like your weekly budget, how many reviews you have on your Google business listing, all that kind of stuff, because sometimes local service ads can kind of favor businesses that have a bigger budget or they're more established. So it's something to think about. It's been really helpful in this case, but it's something, kind of a basic marketer response here. It's something to test, see what works, see what doesn't work, test it out. Worst case scenario with local service ads, you're not going to blow thousands of dollars on a bunch of clicks. Maybe you won't get as many leads as you want, but at least those leads are pay per lead as opposed to pay per click with Google Ads. So that's pretty much it for this video. I want to do a quick overview of this particular system we're running for this client and how you might be able to take some of that and implement it for yourself. I have a bunch of other videos on the channel going over the more specific how-to stuff. If you are somebody who wants to just do it yourself, I have plenty of other resources for that. But if you are the owner of a pool service company and you're looking for somebody to actually set up, build, optimize, pretty much do everything for you for a Google Ads campaign, you can reach out for a quick consultation. There's a link in the description below. I can review it, see if I can help you out. And what I can do is literally take this framework that I've implemented for this client, bring it into your market, and then generate leads with the same kind of campaign. Obviously, there's an optimization process and all that kind of stuff, but we can take that framework, bring it into your market, and get some leads for you as well. So if you're interested in that, there's a link in the description below where you can apply for a quick consultation. But outside of that, if you got some value out of this video, we'd really appreciate a like, subscribe, comment, all that kind of stuff. And if there's anything else you want to see, you can drop it in the comments below. And I hope to see you in the next video. Thanks.